Good evening and welcome back to World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diane. Now, in just 1 week, Israel executed a high-stakes operation that resulted in the elimination of Hezbollah's entire leadership, including its chief since 1992, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. Now, was this a meticulously planned operation? Did it take years in the making? Or was it a swift response to the rapidly evolving situation in the region? Now, what does this mean for Lebanon, for Iran, and the broader Middle East? Now, to explore these questions, I'm joined by Diane Francis, editor-at-large at the National Post Canada. Good evening, Diane. Thank you so much for being with us here on TVP World this evening. And a question I believe everyone wants an answer to, but somehow no one can find the response. With increasing tensions along the Israel-Lebanon border, how likely is it that these skirmishes are going to escalate in a larger conflict between Israel and Hezbollah?
Well, it already has begun, as you pointed out. Just to give you a little bit of my opinion and the background, Israel is surrounded by Iran's proxies. That's Hamas and Hezbollah. And also the Houthis are involved in it, bombing things in the Red Sea and trying to disrupt the world's logistical Suez Canal. And, they're attacking back. Remember, they were attacked first by Hamas on October 7th. And then 60,000 Israelis have had to leave their homes in the north of Israel because of attacks from Hezbollah. So Israel is doing really what it has to do, attack back to stop it, because it's not going to stop. Now, behind all of this is Iran. And frankly, Iran has been the big problem in the Middle East, generally speaking, for many years. The Arab countries don't care. They also suffer from concerns and threats and sometimes attacks by Iran and its terrorists. American troops that are posted in Iraq and in other places worry about this. Syria was destroyed and taken over by its dictatorship with Iran's help and Russia's. And Russia's behind all of this, along with Iran. So if you ask me how long this is going to carry on and how deep it's going to go, Israel is going to very aggressively hit back whenever it's hit. It will attack whoever it has to attack to get to stop the problems, the war. The war will spread, and the war, in my opinion, will not stop probably until there's a revolution in Iran and a new regime, because this is all about Iran and Russia.
You know, I've spent almost a year reporting from Israel during the conflict, particularly post-October 7. I was in the north when Hezbollah rockets were firing, and I met many of those Israelis who, let's not forget to mention, are a lot of the population are Arab and Druze, who have all left towards central Tel Aviv. The numbers are also nearing 70,000, if not more, who cannot return. What you said now, you just mentioned, of course, Iran. How do you expect Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, to retaliate for this? I mean, let's go back to about a month ago when, of course, Israel has nor confirmed nor denied its involvement in striking out Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. Everyone was fearing in August that Iran would retaliate, and we can't say that it really happened. How do you expect this time around? I mean, this was a heavy blow. Nasrallah's death was a heavy blow to the Islamic Republic. How do you think they're going to retaliate this time around?
Well, I think that they've more than met their match. And, remember, Iran retaliated in the spring by lobbing a bunch of bombs and missiles and drones at Jerusalem, which didn't work at all. And it was humiliating. It was so inept. And it didn't accomplish a thing. Between the Iron Dome and the fact that Western allies also intervened along with Jordanian forces and so on to keep the airspace clear or to shoot out what was ever in the sky. So they've tried it once. They don't have a bomb yet, thank heavens. And so I think we're just going to see more of the same, skirmishes with their proxies. Their proxies are no match for Israel. No match. The only advantage they have in warfare is the element of surprise and terrorism. And I just don't see them being able to have anything much more up their sleeves. And of course, in the middle of all of this are the poor Lebanese people. And as you point out, there are Druze and Israeli Arabs in the Israeli army. Israel's
Absolutely.
existence is threatened by these terrorists from Iran. So we can't forget that, even if sometimes the response is disproportionate. And that's tragic. But let's not forget that Iran wants Israel to disappear off the face of the earth, just as Putin wants Ukraine to disappear. So we've got these dreadful enemies to deal with in both wars.
Diane, what impact do you expect Hassan Nasrallah's death to have on Hezbollah's operations and strategic objectives as they move forward? I mean, what's going to happen?
Well, it's interesting because they've been knocking off some of the leaders of Hamas as well, and also even killing people inside Iran who are with the Iranian military and intelligence forces. They're knocking them off one at a time, bit by bit. The Iranians have a large organization, obviously military intelligence organization that rules the country with an iron fist. But these Hamas and Hezbollah organizations, and the Houthis as well, are grassroots, very small. And as their leaders get eliminated, shall we say, clearly there would be other people to take their places. But you saw what Israel did in Lebanon with the detonation of the pagers and the cell phones. I mean, these devices were mostly in the hands of Hezbollah operatives or sympathizers. And
including Iran's
we don't
ambassador.
know how many people have died in that kind of attack, but that's been brutal. I can't imagine there's many people left now that they've also, taken the top leader. So we'll see, but it's just an awful situation.
Now, what are the possible implications of the Lebanese government and its already very fragile political state? I mean, we saw footage circulating on socials this morning of the Lebanese military, the Lebanese army in tanks driving around Lebanon. What can you tell us about this?
Well, the Lebanese government is a complete failure. It has been controlled and run by Hezbollah, the terrorist organization out of Iran. And so certain treaties were signed that Lebanon was forbidden from allowing anybody to shoot or to, shoot into or attack Israel. Well, that's been completely ignored. Because of the stranglehold that Hezbollah has got over the country. It's tragic. It's not the Lebanese people's fault. It's the fact that whatever way their democracy has ended up having terrorists mostly controlling it. Same happened in Gaza. Gaza had a token democracy. Hamas got elected, promised to hold future elections, never did. Dug tunnels, and the rest is history. So, these people are Lebanese and the Gazans are both actually captives of the Iranian proxy system, in my opinion. And, they're part of the problem.
Diane, so Israel has named a new defense minister. Yoav Gallant goes away to be replaced by Gideon Sa'ar. Now, how do you think, or how do you foresee Sa'ar's overall military strategy shifting both Israel's war in the Gaza Strip with the problem of Hamas and now Lebanon? Is this going to be slightly differing from Yoav Gallant?
No. In fact, my understanding from the Israeli press, both left and right and center press, is that the replacement was one of the big proponents of hitting back hard at Hezbollah and invading Lebanon if necessary.
What diplomatic options are available for de-escalating the situation? And do you think there are any?
A revolution in Iran. I'm afraid to say. I mean, I don't know how else you stop this export of violence and terrorism and finance for both if you don't somehow isolate and stop that regime from perpetuating this cycle of violence in the Middle East. It's not just Israel. You know, Iraq is having trouble. The Persian Gulf states are quaking in their shoes. I mean, this is a regional mess that actually, let's be honest, started with European colonialization of the region into countries owned by France and Britain, and they were traded like chess pieces. And you know, the people are caught in the middle of all this political maneuvering, which of course now has resulted in what we're involved in. I think Israel is tough. They're resolved. They have to be. This is existential for them, and I think that they will, they will continue to degrade Hezbollah and Hamas, and maybe something will be done about Iran. I'm told that there are recent polls in Iran that 80% of the public hates their regime. That's hopeful. That's a good sign.
Now, Diane, Israel did say that one of its military objectives was to completely eradicate Hamas. And until today, I mean, we're almost 1 year into the war with Hamas in the Gaza Strip. I mean, hostages are still not fully located. We're talking about tunnel issues still being a problem there. Do you think, do you think that Israel will be able, I mean, you said degrade, but do you think that Israel has enough strength to eradicate Hezbollah from its Israel's northern border, and in order for these over 70,000 Israeli citizens to slowly start going back, to be able to moving back to their homes on the border?
I think Israel has the power, and I think they have the resolve, because this is existential for them. These countries that are opposed to them and terrorists do not want Israel to exist at all. They do not want a Jewish state in the Middle East, and that's the bottom line. And so they're going to go right to the wall with whatever they need to do. Israel is an enormously technologically advanced, rich, scientifically superior nation in that region. And their armed forces is very, very strong. But here's the problem. And you pointed out, and this has been a problem throughout history. When you're facing a terrorist group who can hide in basements, sneak around, dig a tunnel system, terrorize the local population into helping feed them and so on, how do you eradicate that with tanks and jets? You can't. You can't do that. And so, this applied to Vietnam. The Americans were fighting Viet Cong. They were hiding in tunnels. They were taking shots. They were sniping. They never could have won that war, and they didn't. The similar things happened throughout history, including the British in the United States in the War of Independence. Those were guerrillas fighting. The American colonialists were fighting the big British redcoats in the woods and from streams and so on. This is asymmetrical war at its and
very
most,
interesting how this
dramatic.
how the situation
that's why it's going to be impossible for traditional militaries to defeat these people completely.
And to see how the situation will unfold in the coming days. Let's be reminded we're also approaching the anniversary of the October 7 attacks on Israel by Hamas. Thank you so much, Diane Francis, editor-at-large at National Post Canada, for talking with me today here on World Talks on TVP World.
Thank you for your questions.
And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diane Skaya. Thanks for watching and have a good night.